What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles welcoming you to another edition, episode 201 of Lyles Figure Files. And Hasbro just dropped its Marvel Legends HasLab reveal. As all signs pointed to, it was Giant-Man. There's a lot of good and probably just as much bad with this one. I really like Giant-Man. Let me start out by saying that. But I feel like Hasbro's Marvel Legends team took a lot of lessons from the previous HasLab, the Engine of Vengeance. Didn't quite get the right ones down. I feel like, yeah, you guys learned, you listened in some regards, but you really didn't quite understand what the collectors were asking for, saying, no, don't do this, do this. I feel like they only heard, no, don't do this. So let me break this all down. But first off, let's see who all is in the building right now. Ryan. So my joke about that interchangeable Dr. Doom head doesn't seem so laughable now, does it? No, good sir, it does not. Uncarded reviews. Hey, about a swing and a miss. Yeah, there were definitely some parts that missed on that one for me too. Robert's Infinite Realms is here. Honestly, Dr. Doomhead seems genuine or genius after that. 80s kid from the 90s. What a joke for tears. No Wasp, no Yellow Jacket, no nothing. Just swappable heads. Uncarded reviews. Another overpriced offering from Hasbro. Low. Afton Child, what's going on? 80s kid. I'm not saving up cheddar for this unless it's backed. David Gonzalez. Very underwhelming tears. Gil Cologne, sticking to my toy biz. No sale. Ren Rock 80s rants and real talk. What up, though, Jeff? Sorry I missed the 200th live last night. Had to watch my Lions. Congratulations. I'm happy anytime beats the Chief because I'm a Niners fan and yeah, I'm still bitter from the Super Bowl. Uncarded reviews. Why didn't they include a standard 6-inch classic Giant-Man figure? Eddie Rodriguez, what's going on? Today seemed like kind of a flat tire. Not gonna lie. Diamond Williams, hello, what's up? Instadan 616, back one. Jamelin Parks, hey, what up, sir? JT the Grime, what's up? Unlucky in Kentucky, what's up? Uncaged, oh man, Uncaged Toku. I'm thinking I'm botched that last part. Very underwhelming. It's about $50 overpriced. TCP Toys, yo. All right, let's see here. Lots of comments. People were fired up about this one. Lefty Lines BK, hey, all looks good, but not sure it could have come with a regular normal size Giant-Man. Tom Finn 2018. I really don't want to be that guy when it comes to Marvel Legends, but Hasbro makes it so hard not to be that guy. Daniel Ruiz, what's up? I'm doing pretty good, man. What happened, Hasbro? All right. Major Gamblero finally returned to form. 200 is on point. Toy Biz with less articulation goes way over the asking price. James Green, what's up, man? I was watching Toy Shiz. Okay, awesome. I'd rather have the Toy Biz bath, low key. Damn, the hype went all the way high and then womp womp. For those complaining about no figures for tiers, they said they released figures to accompany the HasLab as single releases. You're correct, Nick. Monsters go home, immediate purchase. Not thrilled about no figures this tier unlocks, but I understand why. We as collectors can't have it both ways. All right, Mr. Cheeseburger. The fans didn't want figures behind a paywall. They said they didn't want high-priced HasLabs. They said they wanted huge figures. They got it, and they still hate it. Right, Daly, one thing to consider, they added an extra tier to the Sentinel campaign. There's still room for them to add more after the skull head if they move enough units. Kendall, waste of time. James, I thought it would come with at least come with figures. Not impressed at all. Randall, good morning. Episode 201 time. Ant-Man was a giant letdown. Galactus and Sentinel got figures as tiers. Ant-Man got heads. Not worth it to my wallet. JT the Grind, bare minimum, and super safe. Scared move, I feel. Agent Beth, what's going on? I backed it. Was hoping for a Goliath and Yellow Jacket as well, to be honest. But PulseCon is coming. Hopefully, they'll slot them in there. John Busink Jr. Hopefully I said that right. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I would have been happier with a smaller, less articulated version for less money. It's just more than needed. This is a no for me. Not enough to want to get. Yeah, I'm with you. What is a classic Toy Biz Giant-Man going for these days? Let's compare. Well, let's see. Let me do this here because I forgot I haven't talked about this HasLab. I'm sure you all watched the presentation just like I did, but let's take a look here. So I had a lot of things that I thought were useful and helpful for this HasLab, not being as tall as the what we say 32-inch Galactus. I think the Sentinel's 28 inches or 26 inches. So right now we get a giant man who is giant. He's 24 inches tall, so he's going to be pretty high up on there. And so that means, let's see if I can find this scale picture of him. So he's really tall compared to Cap, which is great. He looks like High Pockets. He looks like a giant next to every character. I really like that. He's got 91 points of articulation, including 29 points in each hand. That, excuse me, seems kind of excessive, but whatever. But I love the sculpt. I really love Giant Man. I think just him alone is really, really good. This is a quality figure. I mean, this head sculpt, I love the neutral head sculpt. I think that is really good. The antenna look good as well. The sculpted design on the helmet, you can see the textures really strong. Texture work throughout this figure all along. Maybe he's more detailed than the other figures, but whatever. He's a taller figure. He needs to have more detail so he doesn't show up and look cheap compared to the other ones at a smaller scale. So I get that and I appreciate that. Then we got the suspenders harness piece. That looks good. They designed it so it wouldn't interfere with articulation. He's got butterfly shoulders, double jointed elbows. You'd expect that, of course. So lots of elements to this figure that are good. The belt's good, and that also is not going to get, you know, position maneuver incorrectly when you start turning and twisting them. That's solid. Good plan on that end. He's got toe articulation. I mean, he's got all the articulation points you possibly want out of a Marvel Legends figure. And I really love this. It's like that homage to the Marvels cover. So he can do the rising, stepping over, having to shoot our photographer, Peter Parker figure, aiming up. I think that'll be something we could really do with this. That's cool. Again, don't really have a lot of issues or problems with Giant Man as he is himself. I think that figure is really solid, really good. And I love seeing the rest of these diorama shots from shooting the galaxy. Really cool. And we've got this, all these different faceplates, which I love. I think that's so cool. Definitely something that they needed to talk about these tiers in a second. But here is what I'm talking about. We get this picture here of Giant Man next to Captain America, who only comes up to his knee. The prototype version, same deal. I really like that. He looks massive next to Captain America. So we can really get the full form of Giant Man and appreciate him actually being tall and giant size. So I really, really love that. And then just all this detail, like I said before, we've got these points here on his helmet, and you can see all that texture detail. See the work on the eyebrows. Still trying to figure out how this mask piece works. Maybe it just slips up. I'm a little bit worried with the swappable face plates if this is going to get a little worn down over time, but hopefully they've got that considered. See the texture in the shoulder, in the suspender harness piece, the seams. This is really solid work. Maybe it's too much detail for the rest of them, but I really like what they did with it. Then we got the fingers, and they have just ridiculous amounts of articulation. I know that was something that we loved with the Toy Biz figure. It's really solid here. We got 1, 2, 3 right there in each finger. Then they rotate. So I don't really know if you need all that rotation in fingers for a figure. Then they've got the hinge here and there as well. So he can do all kinds of stuff. And that option to be able to move his fingers whichever way you want. How many people are going to have the Stone Cold Steve Austin salute with their Giant Man figures on the shelf? But he can do a pretty nice cock back, aiming to punch somebody. I really like that too. And then, of course, we got those articulated toes. Really solid. Giant Man on his own is really a great figure. Got the comic book cover to show that, hey, look, we didn't just make this up out of thin air. Get it? But yeah, I mean, I like that because they're showing the reference. So it kind of feels really like something is missing here. Gee, I don't know. it's kind of weird to me. That one I don't understand, and I know we've got some other stuff coming, but I don't really love this. So, right, even in the description here, where they're talking about this big campaign that they've been doing all year, 60 years of Giant Man, 60 years of the Avengers 60th anniversary. In 1963, Pym co-founded the Avengers team as one of the original members of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, alongside his wife, Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp. Well, not his wife at that point, Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor. So if you're going to mention that, if you're going to shout out the Wasp in this description, why don't we have a classic vintage Wasp to go alongside him? I get it. I had all these ideas for grandiose tiers. They could have included original version of Ultron, where he's just basically a vacuum cleaner. That could have been a really cheap, easy one, or Jarvis, or Yellow Jacket, or etc. There were so many options they could have gone with. I came up with like 5 different variations of 4 tiers they could have included with this. I don't care that they didn't necessarily include all the extras, but not to have one Wasp figure seems really weird. And if you're doing all this great engineering with Giant Man, I really would have loved that they had spared some of the finger of the jazz hands articulation and just figured out a way to make a small scale Wasp figure that has articulation that we can actually pose her in her small superhero size, and not just have the static pose like all these other Wasp minifigures we've gotten so far. Let's see what everybody else is saying so far in the chat, because I definitely got to talk some more. James, price not enough for that. Hey, Robert, thanks for stopping by. Hope your workday is not too crazy. 80s Kid says, this literally could have been a bath. Hasbro wins Dummy of the Week award. Token Brick says, think I'll wait and see what they show at PulseCon and New York Comic Con. That works out pretty well because, you know, they can show some more stuff like, hey, look, here's that classic Wasp you wanted. Here's a repaint. I feel like that's an option for Wasp figures. Just make a pretty basic buck for it, and you can just release maybe a box set on Pulse of different costumes, different hairstyles for Jan. Maybe that's a way to sell Giant Man some more. A Yellow Jacket standalone figure in gold and yellow, so we can do both of those looks. Uncut Review says the threshold is so low, 10,000 backers to get this funded. Hasbro's desperate for a win. And that's what I was talking about. Hasbro needed to not have another failure. And in the live stream, this is wild because they actually said, listen, the Engine of Vengeance didn't work as well as we were hoping. It didn't fund. So we tried to take some lessons from it and see what other people out there are doing with their crowdfunding projects. And they said they didn't want to pay for figures behind a paywall. And I get that, but I always feel like looking at the Engine of Vengeance, it wasn't so much, oh, we don't want to pay for figures in a paywall. It's just the characters they chose made very little sense for Ghost Rider theme HasLab. If you're going to go with a modern Ghost Rider, use modern Ghost Rider villains. Don't throw in Goblin Queen. Don't throw in Defender, Damian Hellstrom. I don't know what's going on in current Marvel comics, but I know those characters, especially Mephisto, work well beyond the realm, the little pocket universe of Robbie Reyes. So I think it would have made more sense to just include Ghost Rider themed figures. I don't think there have been a lot of complaints. And I think in that case, people would have more this setup. Oh, this Wi-Fi is still acting up. I don't know what's going on, but I guess it's just still hot spots going on. It's almost 99 degrees out here in Maryland. Hopefully you guys are doing better, but yeah, it's wild out here. So anyway, I just don't understand. Maybe it's just the heat from Mephisto mentioning the Engine of Vengeance again. I think that was a real problem. It wasn't so much that the figures were behind this massive paywall. It was the figures chosen. And I feel like there were plenty of Avenger-themed characters they could have put behind this, and collectors have been like, yeah. Because if you think about the original Toy Biz one, I was having this conversation earlier with my friends. We're like, yeah, I think that Giant Man needed 10 figures to get completed. But back then, Walmart wasn't charging $10 for the figures. I think it was probably closer to $8 or something. So maybe you spent $80 to build that amazing figure. So you figure all the improvements with this figure, and that's definitely no contest between the two. The superior technology, the advancements in articulation, the texturing on the figure, that really great work with the eyes really warrants a bump in the price. Maybe that's 125, maybe that's 150. And then you kind of go, okay, well, here's some figures at $25 a pop, just going by normal retail pricing now. And that takes it up to 200. It's like, okay, cool. There's the value. And I think that's the real problem with this. Where's the value on those other tiers? Ren, anyone saying they're not a little disappointed? No figs and tears is straight capping. I'm definitely disappointed. Stick man, I'm on the fence. Not sure I'll be adding Giant-Man to my collection. Could get him at the last second. Now I'm curious because I'm very interested to see how many impulse, I shouldn't say impulse buyers, but how many people were really excited and were like, right away, I'm back in this project. Before I did the refresh, it was 381 of the 10,000 needed. Where are we now? Whoa, it's up to 1,072 backers. So definitely they're 10th of the way done already. That's great. 45 days to go, 12 hours, 3 minutes. I'm really curious because there are no tiers that really sell this thing. How many people are going to be like, oh, we got to push it up to get to the second tier, or they're just not going to care? And I think if they put another figure in there, would really help get people excited and go, oh, we saw them doing some stuff like to, hey, let's get this Engine of Vengeance rolling. Let's heat it up a little bit more. Let's put Robbie in here, the civilian version of him, just make him part of the base offering. I think they could really push things along if they were like, hey, let's make those extra face plates tier 2 and 3, and let's throw one figure in early, a Wasp figure, because she's definitely a character they could do several versions of it. And it wouldn't be like, oh man, I didn't get Wasp in the blue and white outfit. I didn't get her in the green and yellow. So many attires for her. And it's like, whatever, I missed this one. There's still 58 more to go. So let's see what's going on. What else are we saying here? My man Mega J Retro, what's up, brother? 200 is a good price, but the Sentinel had swappable heads and figures, but face plates, no figures, just a little strange. It's not climbing like other HasLabs on the first day. Yeah, it's just we want figures with our HasLabs. I don't know why this is the time to break that precedent. The Sentinel, Galactus, his first figure was Silver Surfer. And I'm like, I already have a good Silver Surfer. I don't need another one. But we still had Firestar. We had Nova, we had Morgan, we had that very questionable Doom head just kind of floating around. But we got 3 figures to go along with Galactus, who, if any figure, they could have just been like, yeah, we're just selling Galactus, and here you go. I mean, he doesn't have the voice activated, the sound chip like the Marvel Universe version. I was just playing with him at like 7 or 8 different sound chips. And if they'd added that on this one, on the HasLab one, I'd be like, oh, this is even more amazing. But I think with Giant-Man, he's a simple figure. I'm glad to see he's not anywhere close to $300. That's a big win. Getting him for under 200, great price. And if you're a Pulse Premium member, the total price for him is going to be about 216, 217, depending on your sales tax for where you are. But I don't know. I just figure like another couple of figures would have really pushed this over. Major Gamblero, I understand the heat, pun intended, that the Hell Charger got from us, but really don't understand the hate now. This Giant-Man is a backdoor for Black Goliath. I really, again, hope that's not the case. And this is why I was going, well, if they decide to make it $200, $250, $300, one thing that they could do is add in a smaller 12-inch, 15-inch, 16-inch buck that they could use over and over for other giant-sized characters. This way, the way they've done Giant-Man at 24, 22 inches, that doesn't really work. And they have to know that. They have to know that people do not have the shelf space for a 22-inch Goliath, Black Goliath, Atlas, Power Goliath 3, Clint Barton Goliath. Still 5 more big giant characters they could throw in there at that scale. At 12 inches, 16 inches, that could work, but it's not, I mean, there's just no detail that would work that could actually display anything worthwhile. So hopefully they still have a smaller, but still giant-sized buck they can pull out here. Ryan, I can't believe I backed 2 HasLabs this year, Dragonfly and Giant-Man. It still spent less money than the Ghost cost. Wow, that's a really good point. Yeah, the Ghost was, I feel like, well, after everything worked out with the tiers, you got basically the whole crew. But yeah, the fact that you still have to go back later on to get Sabine, and that Sabine vintage collection figure right now is $28, which is still a weird price point for me. But yeah, we're gonna figure this thing out here. 80s kid, I'm sorry, but the price is not right. Bazinga. Jamelin, to each their own, but I think the price is fair. What figure should it come with that wouldn't piss off people who didn't want the big ticket item? Um, Jarvis could have worked. I mean, like I said, I think Wasp definitely could have worked because she has so many costumes that it wouldn't matter necessarily if one was chosen. It's not like, oh, that takes her definitive, iconic look off the board. And I think Yellow Jacket's another one they could have gotten away with just from repainting them, like a gold version in the HasLab and a yellow for Yellow Jacket that is retail. So people who got the gold version don't necessarily feel burned and need to get that yellow one, but those who don't want to pay for Giant-Man could get a more comic book colored accurate version of it. So I think there were ways they could have done it and not just piss everybody off. Toy Biz going for about 200 and smaller with worn out plastic. Can't win either way. That is wild if that's what this thing is going for now. I haven't looked in a very long time at what he's going for. And I just am curious myself now if he is absolutely going for that. Man, that would be crazy. Not that I doubt you, of course. All right, let's see what we're talking about. All right, so we're here. 349 for one. That's wild. Then we got parts for figures, 60. You can get that Century for $20. $12 pieces, but again, that was you're gonna have to put in work to buy them. This one doesn't even have the left hand, the right arm, and right fist, right leg, and he's 135. That's crazy. All right, this one's 174, free shipping, so got to get a sense of that. 180, so that is indeed over the price of the HasLab. Jeez, that is really interesting. This was 81, and it seems like everything's straight, but I know for a fact that some people have had some weaker Giant-Man figures that are a little loose or whatever. So I guess you could cobble together one. This one's 54, not bad. 64. So you could probably get a Giant-Man right around the same price, but if you wanted one, if you didn't already have that figure, I think you're better suited just getting this builder, this HasLab. All right, Afton, I was really excited for this figure, but kind of disappointed. Does anyone think it'll be back? I think so. I think people, I think the price is fair. And I think it would have sold faster with more people, like with more figures. But I think that what they're offering a really giant size figure. And now he's at 1,149. So he's rolling along. I think by the end of the weekend, we'll have a better picture. If he's like 3,000, I think it should fund pretty quickly. Again, there's 45 days for this thing to get funded. So I think we'll see him get funded. I really doubt those tiers will get done, though. So I'm definitely thinking that's going to be a problem if people want the scroll and the zombie faceplate. Wish the Canadian dollar was stronger. It's nearly 400 in Canadian dollars. Adrian, that is a lot of money there. Uncut reviews. I'm going to pass on this one and spend that money on the next Mondo Mochi release. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Eat Templar Hunter, what's going on? A 2-foot tall pinless figure with Spider-Man Daredevil articulation for 200? No, they need to sweeten the deal with at least 2 figures. Wasp and Yellow Jacket. Great minds and all that good stuff. Monsters Go Home. For those upset about no first appearance, Wasp, like me, the vision they showed at San Diego Comic-Con is part of the 60th anniversary, per Ryan and Paul Harding, so there's still product coming. Hopefully we'll see Wasp. I can't imagine we won't see her at this point. I really thought we were going to see her in the HasLab, so I'm sure by the end of this month, September 22nd, that is 2 Fridays from now, we'll see a lot more Avengers figures. And I think Yellow Jacket, Wasp are really strong candidates for that. Maybe a whole other wave of Avengers, but I would be shocked if we didn't see her there. Anonymous 8. It's just why? They could have done something more new or interesting. What would you want to see? 300. 300 is still pretty expensive, but that's definitely better. Christopher Bennett, is there a promo code for free shipping? Well, not so much, but if you're a Pulse Premium member, you do get free shipping. So it's one of those deals. If you've already paid for your Pulse Premium membership, It's free. And of course, if you buy enough stuff from them, it will eventually be free anyway, because you'll have caught up to that $50 you spent. Because sometimes it's expensive, but the shipping as a base is $16, which, given the size of that figure, is not bad. Because there's some Hot Toys figures I get from Sideshow that would charge $20 for shipping. So 16 for this size figure is not bad, but you can absolutely get it for, free with the Pulse Premium membership. Mr. Cheeseburger, Engine of Vengeance had 5 figures, a huge car, blast effects, 2 modes, LED lights, and everybody complained. Can we call it what it is? Marvel Legends fans are unsatisfiable. The card reviews, I'm sure this will fund only 10,000 backers needed, but the tier unlocks, who knows? Yes, a very good question. JT the Grind, it's nice, but nothing innovative. No figures as tiers is a head scratcher, considering the other lines have figures as tiers. Exactly. We just saw this with a Ghost. I mean, they had 3 figures as tiers. And I thought those tiers were really far away, 3,000 per tier, to get another member of a crew, of a team that you absolutely had to have. I'm still wondering, in this hypothetical alternate multiverse reality, what would have happened if it didn't fund all the way, and if you only got, say, Ezra? Would people then have they canceled their Ghosts because, like, I don't get Kanan, I don't get Zeb, I don't even know how I'm gonna get them? I'm curious if that would have happened, but I don't think if anyone's gonna care about not getting a scroll hidden, faceplate. I think that's a real questionable decision to go with. And I'm sure no one's going to care one way or the other, not getting them. And on that sense, it's a win for the Hasbro team, because, like, hey, we don't even need it. So let's pull these up because I've talked about them enough now. We've got the zombie version of Giant-Man, and this is where the fingers really work out pretty well. And we got this gnarly looking head sculpt. He goes along just fine, same skin tone as the Scarlet Witch. It's not really the same era as him, but whatever. An Iron Man, it's different era as well. And also a Captain America that doesn't fit with him. So it's just a weird zombie Mitch mask. And trying to incorporate this one with these MCU figures is a weird choice for me. That's one that I just don't understand, because they're like, yeah, he can fit with all these other ones that have nothing to do with him. This one works a little bit better. It's a scroll. Look at the detail, the pen particle. That's boot tread. That's nice. Great detail to add in there. So I got this here, but I'm just kind of like, do I need a scroll? Head sculpt for Giant-Man? I felt like I liked the scrolls a lot better when they were just random, small, little army guys, and not everybody has the powers of the Super Scroll. It kind of takes away from him. And I loved on the live stream how they said, yeah, a couple years back, we did scroll army builders on Pulse. Hopefully everyone got them. Yeah, we got all 5 we could get. If you want to put more scrolls out in conjunction with this HasLab, then it'll be worth it. But I'm just kind of like, hey, guys, that's not what we're looking for on that end either. So let's see what else everybody else is saying. Ryan, the only cool thing about the super articulation in the hands is you can have Hulk or some villain as a hand breaking his fingers. Hulk would definitely do it. Jay, he asked the question, but I don't see the rest. Afton, I must say I don't know if I'm going crazy or not, but a little bit. 200 is not bad. Just hope there is more than yeah. I guarantee nobody's won the tiers. All right, 80s kid. Maybe some. I know here on this channel, some of you all were going, hopefully there's a zombie head and hopefully there's a scroll head. So I know there's some people who want them. I just don't know if it's enough to get that 12,000 backers, the 14,000 backers. And to their credit, they're much shorter tiers to get to than the Ghost, because it needed 17,000 to get Zeb. So that works. Lar A, is the mask cloth? I don't think so. Cloth and Velcro for faceplate swapping seems like a nice idea for usability and maintenance. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out. I'm very curious to see how that works. I think that's such a cool idea, and that's definitely something the team should take a bow for, because that is such a clever idea to do faceplates. Just mix it up, do something different. But I'm not quite so sure. This smiling one, I think, really works in one pose where he's taking a Avenger shot with everybody. Otherwise, it's gonna be like, what's up with the creepy tall guy? I like this fierce expression here. That's good. It's like, Ultron, you screwed with me for the last time. So I really like this. I think that's good. And the smiling face definitely work in certain points, but you can't just use him in any circumstance. So I like the innovation. That's great. Love to see that. Hopefully they keep that up. Okay, reviews. This is just an overpriced Marvel Titan series figure. Kendrick, I'm not happy about the unlockables, swappable faces. I think no, the head, they're actually different heads. So it's a different head for the scroll and the zombie because the antenna are a little bit messed up for both of them. Why couldn't the HasLab come with a standard normal size giant man figure with an unmasked head of Hank Pym with a soft goods lab coat? That would also be something that would make sense. Where if you don't care about Giant Man, you're not going to care about missing out on a smaller size Giant Man. And that's definitely something that would have worked because he's not 26 inches hanging all the time with the Avengers. He is, at least in this time frame, has to be conscious of how big he gets because he gets knocked out and woozy the larger he gets. So it would have been cool to have that unmasked or just a smaller scale version so he could be in his regular guise with the rest of the crew. Randall, the figure looks great, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's overpriced for what they're giving you. 150 feels like the right price. I know almost 1,000 have backed it. Where are we now with this campaign? I always love this part. This is probably one of my favorite things about the HasLabs, just tracking the progress throughout the whole time and just seeing how excited people are and how quickly they're going to back it. Right now, it's at 1240. Not bad, not the best, but it's going pretty well. And definitely another one of those cases where I know they're trying to sell like, hey, you could buy 3 so you could have a zombie giant man, or you could have a scroll version. But I feel like this is not a his tank. This is a one and done for most people, and we'll see what happens. Nolan, personally find it unfortunate if these could be done at retail. After all, they make dolls this size. Mega J Retro, some toy tubers are saying fans should hold out until the last day to see if Marvel will throw an additional bonus, maybe even a figure. That's kind of nuts. I think once we see what they offer at PulseCon, because I feel like that was something that a lot of us were clamoring for, the Dragonfly. Yo, put in Doc, put in Airborne. That'll sell it even faster. And then when we started getting Night Force, Ripcord, and Night Force Crazy Legs, and Glinda, at least Glinda again was a unique original character, but it was very weird to go, okay, where is the essential characters that we associate with Wild Bill? Doc, riding shotgun, Airborne, all set to glide down and parachute out and help everybody on the ground. And then they were like, no, we don't want to make those important characters part of this massive project. And I'm like, well, why are you charging for this massive project if you don't want people to have to buy the figures? So that was weird, but I definitely think there should have been something. Ken Wasp, smaller scale Giant Man might have been the absolute best choice because if you don't care about the larger one, you kind of need, you would want the smaller scale version. And you're not going to care about, oh man, I missed out on the smaller size Giant Man because I didn't want this larger one. I don't know. Jay, would you back this if they asked for 250 with a Wasp and Jarvis? I'm wondering how much those face plates or swappable heads for the scroll and zombie heads cost because I'm thinking based on the complex size, and it looked like they were a handful, literally, that they're probably $25. And we've already got great female body molds with Shriek and Black Widow. They Wasp's going to use either one of those and, just implement the device for her wings or not, because we always have, Wasp wasn't sitting around until she became bug-eyed, Wasp-looking alien version of Wasp. She wasn't walking around with the wings on all the time. So this would have been a great opportunity to just use a blank female buck. And here's Wasp chilling, normal size with everyone else without those big holes sticking in her back. And Jarvis, we've got suit molds. We could have easily done any of those, just throw a little bow tie on them. I don't think they needed to be anything more than these swappable heads. And I tell you for sure, I think a lot of people have been like, cool, this is much better than these other head options. Wookie Sasquatch coming with the heat. I would rather buy Cookie Monster. I want Wasp in a red and yellow costume that she wore when she married Hank. would be a great one too. Johnny Sherman, don't back it. Wait till the last day. Make them give us more. Give more. All right, James Morrow, CJ James says this seems weak. Look at reviews. Pure effing hubris and corporate greed. Tom Finn 2018. Honestly, I prefer my Toy Biz Build-A-Figure Giant-Man. It's not like the HasLab isn't nice. It's just far more than I really need. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying that. Like my friends in my text chat were going, this is too tall. But I really think that one option that I really appreciated and really liked with this, and I sent them a picture, was the ability, because of all this super articulation this figure has, is that you can do, and I'm scrolling through this massive slideshow of all these cool pictures of Giant-Man. Yeah, there's a lot of them, a ton of photos. Let me see. Oh, here we go. It was like almost the last one. All right, so here's one that you can do, and I think this is really cool. Something for those of us shelf-conscious collectors. We can put him kneeling, and that's great. He should be at that point a detail size shelf without having to totally rearrange your display. And I'm curious about how far on a shelf he's going to stand kneeling, and with that leg to the back there, how much shelf space he's going to take, because I have my Giant-Man all the way back of my Avengers collection, and of course, I don't necessarily want to rearrange all the shelves and start taking them off and putting the little pegs back in on each shelf just for Giant-Man, but I'm curious if he would work in a regular area for just like a 12, 16-inch scale figure on one knee. So we'll see. Collect to disconnect. They've already said there's not going to be any 6-inch figure locked behind this. No point of waiting. I mean, sometimes they will throw in something after because they change their minds and go, all right, you convinced us, or we're not moving enough units. So they've been kind of back and forth with that kind of thing before. So that would not be a surprise, even though right now they said nothing. Because the Robbie Rez early bird special, it was like, listen, if you miss out, you miss out. And then they were like, oh, sorry, we listened to you all. We're putting Robbie in the campaign. And it's still been fun. Uncut reviews. After seeing the Star Wars Rebels Ghost, this seems pretty lame. Thumbs down for it. Not a fan. Joshua, I'd have liked it more at 6 inches smaller and $50 to $75 cheaper. I can understand that. Jamie, I do agree that they could have included a wasp. I half expected her. Plus, she has so many different looks. She could have been a pre-paint G.I. Joe style. Yeah, of all of them, that was really interesting that they didn't include her. So very interested about that. Nick Watts, iconic character. Absolutely. I mean, if you're celebrating 60 years of the Avengers, you gotta have a better version of Giant-Man. I think to me, on all levels, this is better than the Toy Biz one. And the paintwork on this figure is really strong. And he has the shading, which I really like. And it's not like, oh, we just mailed in some chump effort. I'm really trying to see if I can find a better picture to showcase that eye effect that they did. That was really cool. And again, showing some innovation, not just we're gonna work with what we've got. I thought that was really strong and something that showed they were trying something different here. I really appreciate them doing that, going above and beyond. Shoot, it was on the live stream. Let me see if I could easily pull out that picture because I really thought, wow, you guys are doing something different here. Let's see if I can grab this really fast and do this so you all can see it. All right. Just know when you're watching these videos from Pulse, you gotta kind of see everything quickly because there's no telling how long it's gonna last. All right. So let's see. Pull this up real quick because I really liked how this turned out. Let's pull it up. So they did this technology thing where they painted his eyes, but not like normal. So they did this deal where this early part is clear and they painted it in the back, which really looks great. It looks lifelike and like a Hot Toys level execution on the eyes. There's a glassiness to them where you can get that realistic look. I'm really impressed with this. This looks great. And you can see it's like, oh, it catches the light like eyes normally do, and really impressive. I know that's something they probably can't do with the normal 6-inch figures, but to see that on Giant Man, it's like, good job, guys. You're doing something different. So there's a lot of innovation with this figure. I like to see that. I mean, of course, I mentioned this just yesterday, and it's like, hey, yeah, Galactus did the faceplate thing too. So I'm glad to see they continue that, give us more expressions, because they got a massive, tall figure like this. Going to have a little flexibility in terms of expression. So really like seeing that. Jelly Jam, not having Wasp, even a static minifig seems like a miss. Collect to disconnect. I wanted 18 inches personally. I'm not going to say what's coming in my head next. James Morrow, CJ James. Is Giant Man alone worthy of its own HasLab? Yes. Because I mean, what they put into the figure, I think, is way more than some of these Build-A-Figures. I mean, Cosmo was a Build-A-Figure. Cosmo had some work on that scale, and just was like, are you serious? And you had to buy $25 figures to build Cosmo. So, excuse me, just looking at that, Giant Man can be a deluxe figure. I mean, we saw the work on Super Adaptoid. It was $70, and that was a ripoff. So, I mean, paying a little bit more for Giant Man. And again, if the price of Giant Man factored in those two, the zombie and the scroll heads, I would have happily dumped them and just paid for Giant Man. But I think he's worthy of a HasLab, just looking at all the different features in this guy. Daniel, I was really thinking this was going to be the first HasLab I back, but now I'm left 50-50. Hopefully you don't have a two-headed coin. Mega J Retro says the fund velocity is low, but if it keeps going at this speed, this should fully fund by the end of next week if backers show up. And that's always the real thing with these projects. It's like, do they feel like they have their money's worth? Fortunately for them, they have the proper timing compared to some of these other HasLabs where they can go, look, we've got PulseCon and everybody come see it. And he's going to be at October Comic Con, New York Comic Con, so people can see it on hand, the display model. That was great to actually have it so they can actually put the Giant Man next to Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. I think they probably should have put a Wasp figure just as a stand-in until whichever one they show us in the next couple weeks. But that was a decision they made. Right now it's 1,353 backers. Maybe it'll get to 2,000 before the end of the day. Let's see. Digital diarrhea, kind of lame. They need to go talk to the classified group. JT the Grind, this is a reluctant buy. I feel like they could have done some more to get people hyped and excited, but it's weird because just on the surface, when they were all doing all the teases, hey, we got a big HasLab showing the silhouette of Giant Man. It's like, okay. And I don't feel let down by Giant Man whatsoever. I feel like they knocked him out. He's not $300. So, I don't know, but bare minimum standards, I'm happy with it. But I just wish they had done some tiers that gave me as much excitement as I had seen that initial video of Giant Man himself. Wiki Sasquatch says there will be a flat line around the beginning of next week if it follows the other HasLab patterns. And if it follows the patterns of other HasLabs, come the end, it's going to get that massive surge. And I don't think the surge is necessary for those other tiers. This is just let's get the thing funded. And with 45 days to go, I think, what is it, like 500 a day? They would eventually just stumble onto it long before that funding window is closed. So we'll see. Robin is collecting. I was hoping for some figures to go with Giant Man. I think a lot of us were expecting figures just because that's how they've been doing. But yeah, and maybe the figures are the price for lowering the cost. But like I said, I think those head sculpts those head sculpts were probably that $50 that they spent on them could have been used for figures. Jelly Jam asks, should tiers have value? Folks saying all value should be in the base offering. Yeah, but I think what's happened is over the time with these things is like it feels like the tiers are baked into the regular standard price of it. I almost wonder, you take a look at like companies like Ramen Toys where they have their basic crowdfund, and then there are other elements that you can buy to add on to it. I wonder if Hasbro could experiment with that with their HasLabs and go, hey, here, instead of paying $25 for a basic figure, here's a figure you can also add on with this as part of this, $10. I don't know. It's just a weird situation for them, but I see how it works for other companies. But I feel like with this kind of project, Hasbro could just, hey, here's some more figures. Unkind Review says need at least one 6-inch figure with this offering. Just did the math. You call me slow. It's $50 per 6 inches. Boy, I'm so glad we're mature, or that you all are more mature than me, because I'm like, yeah. Anyhow, just looked at Mercari. Someone bought Toy Biz Giant-Man for $173, including shipping. Yeah, Lefty Two Lions. I mean, Giant-Man has been, I don't want to say a grail for people who missed out on the Toy Biz version, but there's a big demand for him. And that value has not decreased because they haven't, I mean, they've done some other versions of Giant-Man. That one with a more modern look with the red circle and the 2-3 bars. That was all right. That was part of a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but it had terrible articulation. And people want a big, massive Giant-Man with the articulation of the Toy Biz one. And he's still super expensive. It's to the point where it's like, well, shoot, this one right here is just, I mean, literally, what is that? Less than $20? A little bit over $20. 27? There we go. I think math is good. Or math almost works. 26. It's basically the same price as that. So it's like, well, geez, I may as well get this. But the only thing is you don't get any bonus. You don't get any extra. And that's the one thing I know that that's the same deal with the 173 you pay for the Toy Biz one. But with this HasLab, we've been conditioned to go, yeah, but what else? And I think the what else is where a lot of collectors are disappointed. Uncomfortable Panda. I wouldn't be surprised if the plan from Hasbro was no tiers, not extra stuff, but then if it stalls, they'd be like, we listen. Here's another few figures. I can see that happening for sure. Nick Watts, iconic character, check. Reasonable price, definitely check. Reasonable backer threshold, check again. Engineering improvements, check. Learn from EOV, check. I'm with you. I'm saying check because I'm right there with you. I'm not just reading the check marks you included. Everyone needs to realize it isn't 2005. Can't get a HasLab on clearance. And I kind of look at it like that too. Like, well, I'm paying for this guy, but that means I made out like a band in the first half of this year. I got so many figures, so many Marvel Legends for $7, $7.49. And I'm feeling pretty good about that. You still find good stuff at Ollie's, at Ross, etc., outside of the Target clearance. So paying regular price for a figure, like you mentioned, with all those engineering improvements, I'm not too upset about that. Critical Spectrum says classic Wasp. No other words needed. I'm with you. Excuse me. Lefty Two Lions says, if this gets made, does this diminish the value of the Toy Biz Build-A-Figure? I think it's got a year before it does. Because I feel like people are going to have that panic. Well, you know what? It might take the value down a little bit, but I think it might work for people who are trying to sell their Toy Biz version because it's like, you missed out on that HasLab version, but I've got one I'll sell for only $200. And I feel like the HasLab, eventually people who missed out on this window are going to be like, shoot, I should have bought that figure. And that one's going to skyrocket in price. And then the Toy Biz one will follow suit. So I think the value on this will hold up pretty well, actually. How many Wasp and Hank outfits have they had? What would they choose if they choose one of outfits? They have so many. I mean, that is literally no exaggeration. Wasp has so many costume choices. They could not exhaust them reasonably. And it's just like, yeah, you guys could keep doing as many costumes of Wasp without exhausting anything. Here, I just pulled this up really fast. Here's an example of Wasp costumes. So you can see they have so many to choose from. We have a grand total of none of these outfits in Marvel Legends. So we've got this one. That's a pretty cool classic look for her. with these shoulder pads and gloves. You could reuse this for several. This is the classic style that should come with an original Giant Man. Then we got this Tinkerbell style. We've got this one a little bit sexy, a little bit W going. This one's another 70s style. This one also works. And I mean, there's just so many different versions of her that they would not exhaust doing Wasp figures at all. Jalen says, with a $50 blob and a $70 super adaptoid, what price should this Giant Man be? I think people just like the idea of extra figures. More figures would bump up the price. Yeah, I think what I said, the heads probably would equal out to the price of two extra figures, and I would happily switch out two figures instead of those two heads. But I think the price for Giant Man at 200, if we say he's just 200, nothing else extra, I think that's fair, especially looking at these online prices for the Toy Biz version. So I think it's a fair deal. I mean, if he was 250, I'd be like, that's too much, guys. Or if he were 300 or 350, I'd be like, nah, guys, y'all are tripping hard. But I don't have an issue with the price for him. Mike Powers, I think it's simple and good offering. I wasn't interested in Giant Man no matter the tiers though. So yeah, so you're somebody that who whatever they threw in there was going to work. Into Me Snob says, excuse me, I don't mind tier unlocks in general, but they just got to be worth it and not lazy like a base body, paint, and head. Most customizers can do that at this point. Woogie Sasquatch, I need at least two regular figures. Add his tiers to back. Felix Guerrero, word. They could have given less with Galactus and still sold it. Now they're shooting themselves. Randall, there will be a lull after the initial euphoria dies off, but we know Marvel Legends diehards. Ryan Dell will buy it regardless. We got the 6-inch Ant-Man, but a 12-inch Giant Man and a 24-inch combo would work. Since the price can barely be justified, unable to bake in figures as tiers, I guess. It's all right. Ronan, X33 or 1033. Still trying to figure that out. Hocus thing fun is just for the psychological sake of the designers. I think the designers really should take a bow because they did a lot of cool stuff. I mean, that Spider-Man torso articulation, the fingers. I mean, this figure has maybe the, I mean, he has the most articulation of any Marvel Legends. He's got 91 points of articulation. That's way more than Galactus in the Sentinel. And he won't tumble over, presumably, and stumble and break because they didn't have a lot of pieces to break off, except for maybe those antenna. But still strong super glue. I think that'll work. Is the bath the same size? No, that bath was like 12 inches, like a straight up 12. No, maybe it's like 15 inches. I haven't like measured the height. I mean, I have him. He looks good next to my modern day Marvel Legends, but this one will absolutely like. Let me see if I can pull this picture up so you can get a sense on how he scales next to some of these other ones. You see how quickly. Excuse me. There we go. All right. So I'm going to try to give you a good scale sense of how the original Giant Man stood or stands against contemporary Marvel Legends, more or less, because a lot of these guys, perfect. Here we go. Okay, so here's what the Toy Biz version looks like compared to the Marvel Legends. This is the one from back, the Toy Biz one. So, all right, here is a good example. Thor is standing regular height. Giant Man is not bent over anything. So he is about at more or less about at Giant Man, the Toy Biz version's crotch. Thor now would come up to maybe the top of the kneecap to the current HasLab version. So that gives you a very scientific look at their size difference. Derek Giselle, I think I said that correctly, hopefully. I backed. I think 200 is really good for this. Agreed. 2 foot is a nice size for the Avengers display. I've been building for years. Mondo is half the size and costs about the same. Yeah. Red Foreman, twice the size of the Toy Biz. Yes. Wait for this one to fun. Then you can get a good Toy Biz Giant Man for an affordable price as collectors unload them. I'm curious how many people have the old Toy Biz Giant-Man. Randall says Goliath Giant-Man has so many different versions they could make it a lower scale, 12-inch, that people would buy for Hank and Clint. I'm with you. Hank seems to be a demand with Ant-Man and West Coast Avengers 5-pack version. Yes. Twice the size, double the fill. I tried to do my Count Dooku voice on that one. But still, for display that you have to dust, 2-foot will look like just as well as a Mondo. Love me some Mondo too, but 200 is not a hard thing to swallow. E-Templar Hunter says this HasLab is a safe play for the Legends team. It will get back probably by the end of the week. I think going smart is the way for them to go. Ryan, the scroll head looks really, really cool, but I'm never going to display him with that head, and there's no way I'm buying more than one. So honestly, I don't care if the tiers are unlocked or not. That's where I'm at. It's like, who cares about these tiers? I mean, I hope for everybody who wants them, go for it. But, it's like, okay, cool. Red Foreman, do y'all want to pay $400 for this plus maybe a couple of other 6-inch figures? No. So, like I said, I'm okay with this being $200 and no extra cost with it. Because I think the dude is fine. He looks good. IGM 32, y'all are tripping. This is fire. I have zero complaints about Giant-Man. Ooh, seeing this Giant-Man HasLab makes me really regret not backing the Dragonfly. That's why I really wish they could spread out these HasLabs a little bit more, because I backed the Dragonfly. I didn't back the Ghost, and I was really like, oh, I'm going to regret not getting this, aren't I? Because I was like, I'm definitely getting Giant-Man, so that's just the way it works. Ooh, no free shipping to Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, my friend. No free shipping to Canada either. That's not great. Happy accident. What's up? Oh, Afton. Okay, maybe you're one that was asking for the zombie Giant-Man. Randall says, Wasp, Yellow Jacket 2-pack. That would work. That would really work. Jarvis is needed. And Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel Warbird, and Avengers Beast. Yes. Wonder Man 2-pack seems logical. OG Wonder Man costume. Scarlet Witch Quicksilver 2-pack. Yes. We get Scarlet Witch with her crown version. Yes. Zombies are 3 years ago. They've only got their boost because of What If, so I understand why they included it, but yeah, I'm like, they only created the zombie mode to cover for the loose joints and floppy articulation. The Radiation 74 is a weird choice. Pristine suit with a zombie head. Yes. Galactus is fine. And fire. More scrolls would probably give me. Maybe they could do a 2-pack like they did the AIM soldiers. My powers, I dig the scroll head. Looks cool. Zombies are past. But again, I don't care about Giant-Man. So skipping this HasLab once again. They're 2 for 4 with me now. Jimerez says, how do we not have some great villains like the Grand Master, the Collector, to fight these guys? They don't really fight them that much. They're more like looking on in the shadows, maneuvering things to set up for them to fight. Imagine this being on a retro card. Christopher, no way would that work. That'd be crazy. But I'm curious to see what the packaging is going to look like. Wookie Sasquatch, I was hoping they were going to surprise us all and say the Cityscape Battleground diorama from the pics was actually going to be the HasLab. Brent Dash, I don't care much for the tiers, but the figure looks cool. Yes, that's the most important part of this deal. Smiling face looks like Jim Carrey from The Mask, says Wookie Sasquatch. Bear Deity. The antenna on the zombie pop into the normal head with the zombie faceplate. Yep. Richard Gifford, I'm getting on this plane, Hannibal. Power Turtle Buster figure review says shouldn't have even been a HasLab and should have had swabble heads and not faces. That seem more complicated for the zombie one. Nah, I hate Marvel zombies. Bear Daddy said they didn't want to gate a highly sought figure behind HasLab exclusivity, so probably no classic Wasp or anything like that. Nope. In Beltran, what do you think about it being cheaper because of no figures in the tiers? That means previous HasLabs did include the tiers in the base offering. That's a good point. I think that they really could have done better in terms of the pricing early on, but I think they were trying to figure it out. And I think Giant-Man is cheaper because they've got to figure out a way to sell this. They can't have consecutive failures on the HasLabs for the Marvel Legends front. So they absolutely had to make something that would work. And if that meant no figures, then whatever it takes for them to go to their bosses, the higher ups at Hasbro, and say, look, our latest HasLab funded is all the way. Great. We can keep making more. Happy Accident says important characters shouldn't be tier unlocks. Gonzo Cruz, if they make Yellow Jacket and Classic Wasp as tier 3, it probably funds. JT The Grind, they want you to buy the 5-pack Avengers and the Target Ant-Man. They think they're slick. I can't believe they're doing giant figures as HasLabs when Jax is doing the big figs that won WoW. Which I wish they did Stay Puft and release the Megazord instead of Giant Mike and John Cena. Happy Accident says, I say drop tier unlocks. Offer Giant-Man with all hand and head options for flat price. You want? Get done. Sherlock, what's up, my friend? Ricochet Rick, word is to hold off on back and see what they got. Unmasked head, more character faceplates, add-on figures. There's no secret they could and can do more. Beer Daddy says, I kind of like the idea of him bracing between two shells as if he's holding one up. That's kind of fun. Miguel, Miguel, there are 1,255 backers already. It's hoping to get better tiers. Jay Woods, the Marvel Legends team mentioned they listened and learned, but do we know who they were listening to? Not Jeffrey, that's for sure. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Blake's in the building. Hey, what's up, all? What's up, my friend? Dean Anthony, the Wasp and all the other complementary figures can be released at retail, and I think they will. On the fence with this, also would have wanted him smaller. I never imagined him this big compared to his teammates. I've never seen him this big in animation or comics. He was that big like early on, but he didn't tend to stay that way that long because he was like, oh man, this is too much. I can't control my height and my size. I'm trying to see if I can find interior shots of Giant-Man with from back in the days holding up Hulk and Submariner. Of course, I can't find that, but I tried. But there are shots with him kind of the size of how this figure would look. Ryan, I wonder how long it will take this one to ship. Gotta imagine production won't take as long as others. Hopefully. Charlotte, I don't collect Marvel Legends, but I'm glad they're going to have a win. I don't agree with their choice of tiers, but clearly there are a lot of people excited about it. Yes. Marvel only had one miss. What's his face? Engine of Vengeance. Kwame Taylor. Legends team was transparent and smart with their decisions. Collectors saying things like more figures and so on were clearly addressed in the live stream. We're just ignoring that. Chair Bear Man Cave kind of knew they would do a Transformer style HasLab. They needed to. I mean, they absolutely had to go with one that would work. James Keel. Yeah, I'm getting this one. Blake, if we all wait, will Hasbro have a figure some stomping effects in their back pocket to sweeten this? Possibly. Richard, for those who want it and are okay with the price of open funds, it doesn't wind up in the same pile as Robbie and Reva Saber. Don't forget the Cookie Monster as well. And the Rancor. Preach, Nick. Riley Scott, do I think the lack of figure tiers is because of the whole hostage figure thing with Fisto? I think it's because they chose poor figures for the Engine of Vengeance. They've done more Ghost Rider characters. They get funds. That's why we're saying that they learned the wrong lesson. But I think the price also helps in this case. So if figures are going to make them cheaper, I'm fine with keeping this and not worrying about the tiers. Henry G, how's it going, my brother? Good, man. I'm excited for the Marvel Legends HasLab Giant-Man, but would you prefer some additional figures to steer unlocks? You better believe it. Wookiee Sasquatch, Back to Eternia, Dragonfly, Tommy DeLorean, the Ghost, and the cast there. Good gosh, that's a lot of backing and supplied on crowdfunds. I'm spent out. Yeah, you are. Gonna have to impress me more than it did for me to keep working over money. You have done your share to help everyone's crowdfund. Great stream, Jeff. Giant-Man will fun, but let's see how long he takes. Yo, Nugget J, let's link up because I've got more to talk about this for sure. I'm sure you're gonna want to talk about this later on down soon as well. An 18-inch Giant-Man with a couple faceplates at 150 would be a Pulse exclusive and not a HasLab. I don't ever see a HasLab truly being under 200. Yeah, it's not that bad. Blake says, I think Lost Figure Files and Model Behavior should do a collab. Two of my favorite channels. We'll let me see if I can hook that up with Model Behavior. Yeah, all right. I'm game. I just need to reach out. Into me snob. Check the live stream yesterday. I showed off my Marvel Legends, so you can see that one. I need to rearrange the rest of it. James Green. Well, I'm glad that the ones who like it will get it. Absolutely. He was pretty huge in Earth's Mighty Series. Yeah, he was. So I don't think the size is off. I think he works fine on that end. And let me see if I can find that issue because I'm pretty sure they were using a comic book reference for that picture of Captain America with him. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's comic book art because there was an old comic book from back in the day, of course, book to show how Giant-Man looked right next to Captain America. Of course, now when I do this scale, I just get the pictures from Pulse showing off what we all just watched. Darn it. Darn it. No luck. Jeez, comic book love on Google right now is not great, but this is something I really wish we could have gotten just so we could do this as well. So I had shot this figure a while back, but this is something I wish we could have gotten a smaller 6-inch version of Giant-Man. And wow, look at how time has passed. This is my Toy Biz Iron Man 1 in the face-off Captain America with the toy Hasbro Giant-Man. I really wish we could have gotten a smaller version of him that we could put on to our shelf as well. But I love being able to do this, and I wish we could do something like this now, but still can't. But anyway, let's see here. Ryan Vega, been wanting a Giant-Man for 10 plus years since I was like 12 years old, but I'm just so nervous for this. 10,000 backers seems doable, but I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't think this is going to be a failure or failed HasLab. I think we're okay. Right now, he's rolling pretty well. He is at 1,576 backers, 2,000. Certainly seems doable by the end of the day. So I think that's a pretty good stretch for the opening day. And if it just kind of continues on as more people get excited, maybe they have to sweeten the pot with something else. I think they can do it just fine. What if they did an MCU style Giant-Man? I think the window for that might have been closed after Civil War, but I don't know. I mean, well, maybe this works, but I think they could do a larger scale without making it a HasLab. Jalen, by the way, am I the only one who did not appreciate Jesse Falcon's joke about more HasLabs? I mean, I feel like they've been in HasLab mode all year long. It's like when we started with the Dragonfly, right? And then we moved on to the Ghost, and we've got this one. And then we're gonna get something from Transformers. It's like there aren't enough months for all these HasLabs. Medieval Alchemist. Just saw the HasLab drop. Gotta say Giant-Man looks great, but I'm on the fence. Those tears are kind of meh. Jalen, thank you so much. Don't forget to give Jeffrey a like before we're done today. Thank you, my friend. Charlotte, between pre-orders, HasLabs, and customizing, I'm glad I cut back to a single line of figure select. Which one is that? But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. They literally just yesterday wrapped up the Ghost, and they're like, boom, they're on to the next one. On to the next. Ryan, everyone has different expectations, but after backing 4 HasLabs, I can say I've never been motivated by the stretch goals. The base offering has always had to justify the price. And that's interesting because for me, for sure, that new generation arena for Mattel's WWE line, I really felt like it maxed out the whole deal when they started adding in that Macho Man figure was like, oh, these 3 Ultimate Edition figures along with all this stuff totally justify the price. I feel like sometimes they need a little push, like, killing off Coulson. They need a little push. But yeah, I think this works out all right for this one. I think 200 is fair, especially when you can see the aftermarket prices on the Toy Biz. Big Rib, doing awesome, bro. How are you? When you consider that 18-inch King Kong Mega Fig from the Skull Island line, retail for about $30. It makes me wonder how much profit Hasbro is making per figure. What's the articulation on that Mega Fig? Wait, in the first run of Avengers, Giant-Man seemed to only be drawn at about 8 to 9 feet, which makes sense, or else the artist would be drawing his knees in every panel instead of his whole body. Yeah, Jack Kirby was a master doing a perspective anyway, so he'd tend to slant him up when he would shoot him. So it's like, hey, how tall is he? Let me see here though, because my hey, I don't know about this. It started to get on my nerves here. So let me see if I can find a very quick panel of early Giant-Man. Pull this off so we can see exactly how tall he would be next to his compatriots. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Go back to that. Because I know for sure he was grabbing all these cats and fighting them and all this stuff. Trying to see if I can find. But yeah, he was definitely drawn from Jack Kirby at about the waist of Captain America. So they were absolutely not making him too tall. I'm trying to find some art where he is like going full on Giant Man size, where he's like, let me go after the Masters of Evil or whatever. But we don't quite seem to see that. Darn it. I was hoping to see if I could make this easy, but it's not. So, yeah, I guess it works either way for us, but I'm here what you're saying. The Dissembled Avenger 68 says, calling it right now. The next HasLab will be Thing, Fang, Boom. That would be a fun one. I'm really curious how they would implement him. Big Rib, did I get my trouble bubbles yet? The mailman just passed by, and last I checked, my FedEx tracking was still wait a few more moments before we actually send it out. Oh, Dan, I'm sorry, I did miss it. I had to, don't know if you answered it, but how does a HasLab work? All right, so if you said, hey, I want to back this HasLab right now, they don't charge you a penny typically, unless they have to put like $1 hold on it, but it doesn't stay on. 45 days later, so that would be October 24th, 3 days before my birthday, you would then be charged on like the 25th or 26th, depending on the day it falls in the week. So they'll stop taking backing at 11:59 p.m. on October 23rd. So what happens is they won't charge you till the 24th, 25th, and I think you still have a 5 or 7 day window to cancel the order if you're like, whoa, I don't want this after all. So there's plenty of time. You backing it now, just saying I'm intending to back it and I'm intending to pay on October 24th. Now, one of my friends said he was able to use the PayPal. I assume he has a PayPal card. So if you have that set up, you can pay for this in 6 installments, I think he said. So there's a possibility for that too. So you could do it that route. Oh, just sticking to classifieds, otherwise known as Lord of the Pre-orders. And when they come, it is massive. It just comes for your wallet. Make Hasbro sweat it out back until the last day to see if they sweeten the pie. The Cavado that smiles a little creepy. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they can make that work, because I feel like how you pose him with this smile is really gonna depend if he looks creepy or like endearing and charming to like he's just a gentle giant. But for real, it's like I think it's left a little bit up too high, kind of Joker-esque. They're gonna have to kind of work with it. But I guess there's still have time, so we'll see. King Kong figure probably had about 9 points of articulation. Does the design articulation cost more, or the giant chunk of plastic weighs about 5 pounds? I would think Kong is short compared to Giant Man on all fronts. Then 9 to 91 points of articulation. All that engineers got to cost, and they got to do all those individual joints for the fingers on their own. 28 points of articulation it was. So I mean, just one hand has more than that Kong. I'm assuming that Giant Man is going to be heavier than 5 pounds too. Tom Finn, honestly, Hasbro did fine with this one. It was our own fantasizing about what the tiers would be that left some of us feeling disappointed. You're right, absolutely. And I feel like that is what always gets us as collectors. We have a little bit too much time to speculate. It's like, oh, they could do this, they could do that. But yeah, you're right. We are our own worst enemy sometimes. All right. Cam, what's going on? Giant Man is looking super dope. And at 200, I'm a day one backer. Outstanding. Classic Riddler just shipped. Hank's a little creepy, period. Oh, Hank gets a raw deal for one bad story, one bad panel from Jim Shooter. I mean, the whole storyline behind that whole deal was so much better. And it's just, he gets such a bad rap from that one panel. It's terrible. What up, Jeff? What up, Cam? Yes. No, are you sure? Because yeah. Because, yeah, I'm with you, my friend. Could you put a down payment? No. You can only do that if you do, think it's PayPal credit. I didn't see it. And options, because I figured some folk might want to know about the payment options. I think you have to have a PayPal card to do the PayPal in multiple installments. I know you could do that with the Power Town figures, but Hasbro is not letting you set that up just as a basic deal. I wish they would though, because that would have made getting the Ghost a no-brainer. But yeah, damn, if I end up getting this, it would be to display the Earth's Mightiest Heroes group. That's where I've been introduced to him and Ant-Man in general. You can ask for a better introduction to these guys. I mean, it's such a great show, awesome cartoon, and so true to the older comic books. And then they incorporated modern storylines. You got a great introduction. So, yeah, I'm not going to say back it for you can have an awesome Earth's Mightiest Heroes display, but that's a pretty cool thing. I'll never forgive Jim Shooter for that. Jim Shooter was going wild with his run of Avengers. He was like, let's break up the team. Wait a second. I don't want Tiger. I don't want Hank on there. Yeah, I just want Wasp out of these 3 new members that I forced on here. And he like totally upended the roster. And it was like, yeah, let's just make some craziness. But the storyline with Hank beyond that one panel was so good. Roger Stern came through and just, here, I'm going to show you guys how to write Avengers. And I feel like for sure he was the best writer on Avengers until Kurt Busiek came through. So yeah. Yes, thank you. PayPal credit is the way to go with that. Josh, I'm going to have enough trouble displaying my Dragonfly. Can't add a 24-inch figure to the equation. Yes. Ryan, Roy Thomas established Hank's fractured personality way before Jim Shooter did. And I think the fractured personality bit was fine. It just was like Jim just he went way off so quick. I mean, he came through and all of a sudden he was just arguing with James. What are you doing? Whew. I had no idea where I'm going to put that Dragonfly. I don't either. But that is next year Jeff's problems, not 2023 Jeff. What if you had Giant Man living on the Dragonfly? Ryan, you got to figure it out for us. Ricardo Gomez. My only complaint is no Retro Wasp as an unlocked tier. Stay tuned for Pulse. I gotta assume we're gonna see her real soon. That indeed is next summer's problem. I mean, hopefully it's next summer's problem and not next fall's problem. Yeah, Shooter has a lot of unresolved issues with his own. Absolutely. All right, well, let's see where we are right now with our HasLab before I wind down, because I'm sure some of y'all have to go back to work. I'm about to start soon myself. So 1,659. So it seems like every time I do an update, it's going up another 100 backers. So that's a really good sign. Like I said, well, at this rate, 2,000 should be well within reach by the end of the afternoon, like 7 o'clock at this rate. So it's just a matter of how the next 20 days go, depending on how momentum goes from here to PulseCon, and if they show anything else, if they reveal, hey, here's a Wasp, we are going to have her, so you compare her with your HasLab Giant-Man. I always think that kind of thing is the good way to go. So we'll see how it goes. Shooter usually improved the art for vendors, but Bob Hall Slap and Wasp snuck through and screwed the character for decades. Exactly. I mean, the dude just got messed up from one bad panel. And it's like, no. I don't know why everybody's like, see, this thing. It's like, no, I think it's so much more nuanced than that. Charlotte, thanks for coming by. I'm about to roll out too. I got to get back to doing the thing. But thank you all so much for hanging out with me and breaking down this HasLab. Let me know if you're going to get it. I'm very curious. Daniel says maybe my mind will be made up depending on how the backers are going to end up. Medieval Alchemist says I may jump in on this. It's tempting the more time goes on. I think they're going to show some stuff to help sweeten the deal a little bit more, so stay tuned. Of course, I'll be back here with any and all updates for this HasLab chart and progress of it, and if anything else gets announced between now and PulseCon. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Loud's Figure Files has been filed.